This, obviously UL
44.
constantly strong on the student scene, rating 44 out of the start. Agecroft, who have also always produced strong crews from up north. Their men's squad is particularly impressive this year. I think they're gunning for perhaps some trophies at Henley Royal, rating 40 out of the start, that Agecroft crew. So UL with a slightly higher rate of striking, 44 out of the start in a double scull is no mean feat. So kudos to them. Interesting steering there from the UL crew, having to overcorrect. And of course, what is worth noting is that like a rudder, every single pull round on one side or every single correction on your lineage does make a difference to the speed of the boat and will cost you time. At the moment, it looks pretty much neck and neck as the crews come out. Perhaps Agecroft have a slight advantage.
37.
That's probably due in part to the fact that they didn't have to correct their steering. As Robin said, it seems to be the Berkshire station who's struggling a little bit more with the steering, but as the crews come down towards those drone shots, maybe not then, the crews come down towards just out the shadows of Temple Island. I think it is Agecroft in that distinctive red kit. Perhaps not. UL, who have a slight advantage. University of London, around a third of a length up, which is impressive considering they did have those steering problems to start with. Yeah, stretching out.
36.
Stretching out to half length, UL striking 37 and Agecroft at 36. So again, University of London taking more strokes every minute, which of course, if you do it in the right way, if you up the rate and retain the technique, move the boat on in the correct way, you are going to have a faster boat speed overall, and that's showing here with 3/4 of a length to the University of London over Agecroft.
It just seems to me that Agecroft are not sending their boat in the way that UL are, and UL have now got, a length, and it seems to me making much more effective use of each stroke than Agecroft are, but then Agecroft are still well in touch and have come back a bit, in fact. They're overlapping still. This is not over, but I think it's going to become more and more difficult for Agecroft, who are not really getting the boat speed.
Still in touch, Agecroft, of course. Just about. I mean, it might be almost exactly a length to UL now, which is no mean feat, of course. Difficult thing to achieve. Clear water, especially against strong opposition. Of course, these guys have already come through one round yesterday. If they progress through here, they'll be racing a semi-final tomorrow at around 20-1. Before, if they make that through, they'll be at a final at 4:10 tomorrow evening, so look forward to that. But at the moment, it is still UL who lead. Agecroft certainly not out of this, though. They are still sculling very well together.
This is a fight. I mean, Agecroft have come back a bit, and in fact, they've come back considerably. I suppose they're overlapping again, just.
Yeah, certainly UL have huffed and puffed, but haven't quite blown the door down in terms of breaking clear. They haven't quite established clear water just yet. So Agecroft still in with the chance. Contact is very important in this one-on-one Henley Regatta racing, Henley Women's Regatta. So I wouldn't rule Agecroft out just yet.
It does seem to me that UL are fairly in control of this. I mean, they have actually stretched out their lead over Agecroft now, but they do have the ability, I think, to respond to anything Agecroft can do to them. We're back to the start again now.
Yeah, for first heat of the junior, or first quarter final of the junior 16 quad sculls. Henley Rowing Club on the Berkshire station, Headington School on the Buckinghamshire station. And of course, these are two absolute heavyweights of the junior women's rowing scene. Although Henley are steering right over towards Headington, and Henley should know better. They row on this course every day, so poor steering on their part is pretty much unforgivable, because they should know this line better than most crews. It looks like Headington, under the stewardship of Ryan Domain, Director of Sport at the Oxfordshire Institution, they are the crew who have taken the early initiative here, and I think they're around a length up on Henley Rowing Club, who of course under Chris Boothroyd have established a huge network of junior rowers through their club, right down from junior 14 up to junior 18 level. And they've got a phenomenal system. Just down there, they boat about 3/4 of a mile from our spot here in the enclosures. And of course, they know all about this course, but it is Headington at the moment who lead this race.
Yeah, well, this is two class crews, isn't it? And Headington have always produced good quality boats at this regatta, and indeed at national schools, which I've had so much pleasure watching over the years. But they've got the edge over Henley at the moment.
Well, of course, Headington won their 8th consecutive Championship 8 girls title at the national schools this year, which is a remarkable achievement.
That's true, yes they did, yeah.
And I think they quite often win the junior girls 8s category here at Henley Women's. So a crew with real pedigree at this event, and I'm sure they'll be looking to stick the knife in and twist as they move down the course. They'll want to break clear if they possibly can out there on the Buck Station. But Henley won't give in without a fight. They're true-born racers. I think their little phrase was a couple of years ago, unleash the lions. That probably tells you everything you need to know about the mentality that the coaches instill there at Henley. But it still looks like Headington. I mean, you've got to remember these crews are at the very oldest, 16 years old, and the way they're sculling is just remarkable.
It's class stuff, isn't it? It really is good. The standard of sculling at this regatta at all levels has been really remarkable and encouraging. You know, this is the next generation of international oarsmen, and what you're seeing now, you might well be watching at Tokyo.
Yeah, absolutely. Some very impressive.
But look at this. I mean, look at that Headington quad, but look at the Henley quad too. But they're really classy sculling, very good, very. It looks relaxed, as I say, but I doubt if any of the girls doing it would say they were relaxed. But that does really look good, doesn't it?
Very impressive.
There is something lovely about a boat when it's flying, and that's good.
Yeah, I have to say that you're absolutely right. There is something about a quad scull when it's at optimum speed that is quite beautiful, and in my opinion is the best boat available to any rower, especially when it's at top speed. And that Junior 16 quad from Headington is looking really strong. Not to forget Henley, of course. They are also rowing well, but I think they've just been outclassed here.
But you're right. I mean, I remember when I first saw a good quad, and I thought, this is the loveliest thing I've seen in rowing. Really superb. I mean, all right, it's not there for beauty all the time. I've seen crews come from overseas to this regatta, and they've spent all the winter on the erg, and they win everything, and you think, my God, all they got to do is learn to row, and they'll really be good. But it's
quite the opposite.
It's not happening here today.
Yeah, really impressive stuff from those girls. And as I said, both girls coached by the aristocracy of junior rowing coaching, but it is Headington on this occasion who look like they're going to come out on top with about a length and a half as they come down towards the finish. So maybe we'll head back down to the start for race 182, which is another quarter-final of the Junior 16 girls quads, and they've just left the stake boats there with Globe Rowing Club on the Berkshire Station and St Peter's School on the Buckinghamshire Station. Of course, Globe won the Junior 16 men's quadruple scull category at the National Schools Regatta a few weeks ago. I think their girls' quad performed admirably as well. I can't quite place the result in my head, but it's close as they come out the splocks, but I think it is Globe who have stolen the early initiative. Certainly looking at the timing at the catch for both crews, it's Globe who look like the more consistent.
Certainly Globe look the much tidier crew. They are sort of taking the pretty route at the moment, and they might be advised to take a more direct one. It's perhaps a bit difficult from this camera angle to be sure, but it looks to me as if they've moved across the course a bit.
Of course, these two crews did face up, as I said, in the Junior 16 girls quad sculls at the National Schools Regatta. Globe were actually bronze medalists. They came third in that event, behind Henley and Headington, who we've just seen come down the course. But my guess is that Henley crew we just saw probably weren't the strongest Henley crew available. But Globe came third, and St Peter's School came sixth. So this is a real heavyweight clash in terms of the Junior 16 girls sculling circuit. It's about as good as it gets here. And this Globe crew just about out to, I think, a length there. So a really good start from those girls, despite their erratic steering. I think it's impressive stuff. And Globe, I have to say, when I was rowing on the junior circuit about 4 or 5 years ago, they were, I mean, not nothing, but they certainly weren't a force to be reckoned with. And now they're producing crews that are consistently at the top end. And that's a fantastic achievement and a tribute to whoever's got them, whipped into shape down there. It's a growing club all the time, and I think these girls demonstrating that if they can make the semi-finals of Henley Women's Regatta, mean, that is a really, really great achievement.
Now, I have to say, Pete, what you said about the blade work of the two crews, the contrasting aspects of it, it's quite clear that Globe are the more comfortable in the water. St Peter's not very comfortable timing, and they're not moving the boat particularly well. And as a result, Globe are consolidating their lead.
Yeah, I think that hasn't changed, has it really? The timing at the catch is still, I mean...
It's ropey.
Yeah, very ropey from St Peter's School, whereas Globe are in-out together, which is so important. I mean, I remember my coach saying to me years and years ago, even if you're going to do it wrong, just do it together. I think that's so important when you're rowing, certainly in crew boats. But it is Globe sculling down the course, coming towards the enclosure. It'll be interesting to see what sort of reception both crews get. I hope it's a good one here, with the crowds milling around at Henley Women's Regatta. If you're around the area and you want to come and see some racing, please feel free.
I'm just reminded of what Sir Thomas Beecham said to one of his orchestras, which is, if you start and finish together, everything will be all right. And you might well put that to rowing too. Yes, look at that. That Globe quad looking comfortably in the lead. As I've said, once you're in the lead and you can see your opponents, it's tremendous psychological boost. They can just see them. There's quite a distance between them, in fact, now. It would be... they need an outboard motor on St Peter's boat to get anywhere now, but we're back to the start now for the next race, which is Klandaf and Henley Rowing Club. Klandaf on the Berkshire station, Henley Rowing Club on the Bucks, and Klandaf seem to have gone off slightly in the lead. Having a little trouble there, the sudden steering problem. They're going to have to correct fairly. That's better, yep.
Of course, my assumption would be that this Henley Rowing Club crew are the national champions in this event, the Junior 16 Girls Quads. There were, of course, 2 Henley crews down the track today. We've already had one who just lost out to a Headington crew. But I would assume that this is the top Henley Rowing Club crew, and if so, we're probably in for some fireworks here, because they are always phenomenally coached. Of course, they did win the Junior 16 Girls Quads both this year and in 2014, so loads and loads of pedigree, and they are already out to what looks like clear water here.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at the size difference between the two girls, not just the way they row, but the actual difference physically.
But you look at Henley have settled into a stride at quite a high rate, and they're just pulverising it, really. I mean, they came away from the island with an aggressive and determined attitude, and they're just creaming it away.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt at all. They have taken command of the race. They're on top. There is an attitude of dominance in their boat, which very difficult to overcome.
I think if Rory Copus was in the booth with us, he'd be saying crushing it right now. They are truly hammering it down the course, and they'll be delighted, I'm sure, with that start and the way they've been sculling. It'll be interesting to see how far they can go and whether we get a Headington-Henley matchup further down the line in this event. Of course, I think the selectors or the time trial has meant that they will be kept apart until the final, if they were both to progress to that stage. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top after a great matchup at the National Schools Regatta a few weeks ago. But Henley still sculling down the course, looking imperious. I think that's probably the best word. When I saw this crew out training last night, I was having a stroll down the towpath late yesterday evening, and I watched them warming up in front of me, and they were doing square blades arms only, which if you've ever been in a quad scull, square blades arms only is not the easiest drill, and they were doing it without any blemish, without any problems. They looked completely consummate, and they're demonstrating their technical ability out here today at the Henley Women's Regatta. They'll be passing our station here at the enclosure very soon, and I think it is very dominant now. I think they're probably out to around 3 lengths.
Oh, they do look good again, yeah. No question here of the superior crew in this race. It must be heartbreaking, actually, to scull behind a crew like that, and you're just on your own. All you can see is the umpire's launch.
Well, in a sense, I think, in the same breath, if I came up against a crew like that, I'd almost think, well, we tried our best, but we were just bested on the day.
Oh, yeah.
by a better crew, and that's so often the case with crews who come up against Henley Rowing Club. It is, well, come back, try again next year, try and get near the dynasty that is Henley Rowing Club and their junior scene, because it is just remarkable.
Oh, I mean, there's no shame in losing to a crew like that. It's still a bit depressing.
No, for sure. No, looking round, you can't even see your opposition. Yeah, that's not nice at all. But unfortunately, it is the nature of competitive rowing, and it is the nature of knockout sport, and we've got it here on the Henley Women's Regatta track. It is Henley rowing down the Buckinghamshire station, looking very impressive. Well in the lead ahead of Klandaf, who I had a bit of problem pronouncing earlier, but have now hopefully got down to a T.
It's the guttural bit you got to
the Welsh bit. But we'll head back to the start now. Have a look what's going on there. The crews are on the state boats. We've got our last quarter-final of the Junior 16 Coxless Quads with Walbrook Rowing Club on the Berkshire station, the Berkshire station, and Nottingham Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station.
Sure, it's not the Buckingham still.
No, Buckingham, yeah. Having problems with pronouncing the Berkshire station, I don't know why. Keep falling off it. But Nottingham Rowing Club, little I know about this crew. I know they always produce decent crews at this level. Walbrook, of course, finished 7th at the National Schools in the Junior 16 Girls Quads, so not a bad crew at all. I mean, this gives you a little bit of perspective. The Klandaf crew, who we just saw beaten by Henley, actually finished 5th at National Schools. So that gives you just a clue as to the pedigree of this event. And the crews are very close together as they come out at the start. I think Walbrook need to be careful, because if they disturb the path of Nottingham, they're going to find themselves in deep water, if you'll excuse the pun. But I think it looks like Walbrook might have a slight advantage, but they won't have for long if they keep that interesting steering up. They are heading straight over towards Nottingham Rowing Club. That really is suicidal steering.
Oh dear.
And now Nottingham overcorrected, and they're heading towards the booms. I mean, there's no doubt who's in the wrong here, Robin.
Absolutely none at all. The umpire's quite certain too. The bit of furious flag waving. But in fact, the moment you get the picture from the other side, there's a bigger gap than you thought there was, but there's still well over. As we have always used to say when trying to find a nice way of saying it, making full use of their station. But they're on their way back now. But it doesn't help if you take a slalom course down the course, because if you want to go the pretty way, you're going to go rather further.
I think that's absolutely right. I think you're adding meterage onto your course, unfortunately. But Nottingham, probably around 3/4 of a length up now, and I think they've made the most of the fact that Walbrook were all over the course. But I don't think this is decided by any stretch of the imagination.
Not in the least. Nottingham are under pipping Walbrook, and looking quite calm, but they shouldn't get too complacent, because Walbrook are really going at them. There is always a danger of losing.
Oh, completely, and especially when the crews have still got overlap.
As any Australian rugby player will tell you. Sorry.
Had to get that one in there.
Yes, had to get it in there.
Crucial to the development of our commentary here at the Henley Women's Regatta. But yeah, it is Nottingham who continue to scull down the course. The thing is, the Walbrook crew, they did come 7th, as I said, at the National Schools Regatta in the Junior 16 Girls Quads. So they are a crew with class and pedigree on board. So their dodgy steering, their erratic steering at the beginning of the course, hopefully won't have cost them too much, because I think we have got quite the race developing here.
It's going to be a question, I think, of whether Nottingham can get the rating up. They
Of course,
yeah.
Nottingham being warned now.
Nottingham now being warned.
So it is interesting to see. I think Nottingham still are in the lead, though, from our perspective.
They are in the lead, certainly. It's a question of whether Walbrook have got a bit of overdrive that they can stuff in something really threatening. It looks to me as if they may have lost their chance here.
When you actually look at the Nottingham Rowing Club girls, they're rowing very efficiently, sitting right up at the catch and the finish. And they're not using or expending too much energy, which is crucial, certainly in the latter stages of the race. When the lactic acid kicks in, you want to be expending as little energy as possible, but still putting down power in the water and using what you've got efficiently. And I think Nottingham have actually stretched out to a length now.
Plenty of leg, quickly away. They are efficient.
Yeah, I think that's just about clear water for the Nottingham Rowing Club crew. And I think, barring majorly impressive late charge from Walbrook. I think it is going to be Nottingham progressing through. So we'll move on to the next race, which is race 185, quarter-final of the Academic H with Oxford Brookes University on the Berkshire Station.